Hey everyone, Jason Cooper here from Kickstarted, the original documentary about the crowdfunding revolution, with another episode of our original digital series called Funded Fridays. And I am here with John, and I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name
Just John
before.
P.
John P. I'm here with John P., who has an extremely interesting project that recently was funded on Kickstarter. They still have 21 days to go. It's called Nice Parking Job Business Cards, and I'll put a link below me on the video. They had a modest goal of $5,000, and they've already surpassed it they're up to $8,638 as of today, and 271 backers. But really, they're just kind of smart-ass cards you would put on someone's car if they parked like a douche.
That's
Which is
exactly
brilliant.
right.
Did I miss anything there, John?
That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, and so I saw it, and what really hooked me. One, it's a great idea because I have that sort of like same. I'm too lazy to do anything, and I'd like to have like a really fun, passive-aggressive, fun note to put on someone's car when they park like an ass. But it looked like you had this idea and then spontaneously made a video and launched a Kickstarter, sort of just like, why not? It seems easy to do. Is that the case?
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's kind of the case. It's almost true. The only exception being, it wasn't quite as easy to get it launched as I originally thought it was going to be. But yes, the inspiration came really and honestly from just personal frustration. You know, you drive around, we get so much frustration just from other drivers who drive like idiots and things like that. And then you pull in parking lots and people, you wonder where they got their license. And actually, it's not even that. I don't think it's that people lack the skill to park appropriately. It's they don't want to, and they're more important than you, so they're not going to, you know. And so I got frustrated about that, and I thought, I wonder if I can, you know, buy some cards or something that I could leave on their car, just something, you know. And I searched all over the place online, couldn't find. I found a few things that it looks like at one time or another somebody made them, but you couldn't get them anymore. And there were a couple that were still available, but they really either like way over the top, really profane and dirty, or they were stupid, you know. And believe me, I don't have a problem with being profane. I'm a former Marine, but hey, you know, you don't have to do that just to leave somebody a message. So that's where the idea came from. I said, you know, it wouldn't take that much to actually make some, but there's no way I'm going to do it just for myself. So let's see if some other people are into this. If other people share this frustration, then maybe I'll actually sit down and take the time to do a few, and we'll spread them out. And you know, I set the goal, as you said, it was pretty modest, $5,000. But I kind of figured if we're not going to at least do that big of an order, it's not worth my time. I would have gone on being lazy and pissed. And yeah, we threw it out there, and we funded within 72 hours. And from then, it just keeps kind of slowly notching up each day. So I guess a lot of people share that frustration.
Yeah. Well, before we get to the idea, because I think it's like one, it's brilliant, but I get a lot of people who ask me, or I hear a lot of stories about people who sort of ad hoc throw up an idea similar to what you've done, and 9 times out of 10, it's a huge mistake, even for something simple. And in your case, it seems like it's not a big deal, and you were able to get it out there and get people to back it. And I'm sure there's people at home like, oh, I've had like, you know, interesting little small ideas that'd be easy to execute. How do they go about quickly throwing them up on Kickstarter? Almost as just like, well, let's float this out there. It seems like you haven't really even like completely fleshed out what the product is yet. So, what was the key in that first 72 hours to succeeding? Like, did you do anything to help get it out there? Did you do a lot of planning? It doesn't seem like you did, but maybe I'm missing something.
No, you're right. It's not something that we put a lot of big, you know, organized effort into. I will say, though, for me, it's a little different story than for probably just an average person because we do this show called Geek Beat, and we have literally millions of followers, and so, you know, I kind of knew that this was a stupid idea, but if I pushed it out to the audience, there would probably be enough people who agreed and wanted to see it done that we would make it. Now, I honestly thought it might take weeks to see us reach that $5,000 number, but for me, because it was for fun and it was kind of a smart-ass thing to do, it was fine. As long as it made sometime within the month, I thought that would be cool. What I didn't really anticipate was that enough people would jump on that it would make so soon. So I would say two things in analyzing where we are now at about the 1 week into this point. There have been kind of two stages that have driven the Kickstarter so far. In stage one, when I threw out the project there and pushed it out to our social media following, we saw a pretty rapid adoption from the existing follower base. It was like 100% of the people who were backing the project were from us, from our followers, and then very little from discovery on Kickstarter, but there were a few that were coming from that. After about, I'd say after we hit the funding goal, after it hit around 100%, then things kind of flip-flopped. All of a sudden, I guess because it was popular on Kickstarter and it started making the listings there, things changed. It started to be that like 2/3 of the activity was coming from Kickstarter discovery and 1/3 from our existing followers. So I guess what I've learned from this is the faster you can get a project up to being fully funded, the better off you are in terms of the second wave, which would be from the large overall existing Kickstarter community. As far as how I put this thing together, you're right, it's not even a fully baked idea. It was something that I said, you know, here's one kind of potential design concept, but if you guys think this is good and you want to back it, then I'll make more designs. I didn't even know how many of these cards we could afford to ship out. I just priced it at $25 for the first 100 people who would you know, back it, which would get us about 50% of the way to the $5,000 goal, and $35 after that. Honestly, I just pulled those numbers just out of my ass, okay? Because I thought, that's the kind of price point that people would be able to make an impulse purchase, and you know, they think that's a good idea. Here's 25, 35 bucks. So because I didn't sit down and do all the math, I don't know how many cards we can get printed for what price, what the boxes will cost, what it will ship for, and I was honest about that. I said, I'm just going to give you a big old handful of cards. We'll figure out how many that is later, okay? When I put together the actual Kickstarter project, at first I wrote just like a little 2 or 3 paragraph description because I really wasn't taking this very seriously. And I attached one image, and that was it. I thought, that's good enough to throw out there. Then I had second thoughts about that because I said, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I might as well put a little more work into it. So I fleshed out what was like 3 paragraphs of text into maybe 6 or 7. And I went and found a bunch of photos of people who park like douchebags, and I kind of embedded them in there so that it looked more visually appealing, and I got a little more creative with the wording, and I tried to make it kind of funny and smart-assy in the description, which would match the cards. And then, after all that was done, I submitted it, and when I got the approval from Kickstarter, they allow you to have a little preview link. I shared that with a few of our followers, and they came back and told me, you really need a video. And at first I thought, I'm not even going to do a video. I don't care that much about this. And at that point is when I went back and I added the video, which you see, which is really, it was honestly a spur-of-the-moment thing. I was sitting on the border. I pointed a camera at myself, back and forth between me and Callie in the dark. It was horrible, terrible quality. but it did seem to add a little something to the project. It was after that that I posted it. So yes, it was a spur-of-the-moment thought. It was not fully fleshed out. I kind of went to people with the concept to sell them on the idea, to get them to back it, to see how many folks share this frustration with me. And then, you know, it turned out okay. So
you basically have done what a lot of crowdfunding experts would say is the complete wrong way to do it. But in your case, it worked, and so I think that one of the things that I like to think about with crowdfunding is that there is no right way to do anything, and you've proven that fully. I'm curious, and not to go negative or anything, but are you concerned at all about now you've been funded and potentially, so you talked about that shifting, you know, the shifting nature of who's backing your project. First it was your followers, people you already knew of you, and now it's becoming something a little bit more. What if that catches fire to an even bigger extent? Is there a point at which this becomes unwieldy, one, that you can't handle it, and two, since you didn't do the math on what it takes to make these things, are you at all concerned that maybe you could end up with like an albatross of delivery around your neck and not being able to do it financially or from a time standpoint?
Well, so one thing that's fortunate is, you know, I don't really need the money. I didn't do this as I'm trying to launch a business, I need the cash. It wasn't that. It was, I think this is a frustrating thing. If you share that with me and you want to do something about it, let's all gang together, because no one individually is going to go and make this happen, but as a community, we could make it happen. And so the reality is, you know, we actually have a full business that does quite well. Even if we lost a little bit of money on this, it wouldn't upset me because, hey, I had a fun time and a bunch of people are happy as a result. Maybe we make new friends and, you know, get a few new social media followers or whatever. There are other benefits to doing a project like this than simply making money. So I could afford it if we took a little bit of a loss. What would concern me, like if we ended up, you know, if it went to $500,000 or something ridiculous and we had just tens of thousands of orders, that could become a little difficult. But then again, because we already have a big community that follows our show, I think at that point I could reach out to the community and we could get volunteers to help us fulfill this goal, you know. So I'm not too worried about those particular drawbacks. One thing, though, I did find interesting was I expected most people to just think it was kind of amusing and either get behind it or ignore it. There were a few people, because as you said, I did everything wrong, and this isn't exactly your standard kind of Kickstarter project. There were a few people who got on to me, and they were like, this is not what Kickstarter is for. Why are you doing this on Kickstarter? This is, you know, that's just wrong. That's what some people were thinking. And I never once approached it from that concept. I kind of look at Kickstarter as a tool. You can use it in different ways. You know, it might be a hammer. If I choose to build a house with a hammer, great. But I could also use a hammer to break a walnut. You know, it'll do it. It might not be optimal, but why not? Why limit yourself? The guys at Kickstarter clearly didn't mind. So I would say open your eyes, you know, open your mind up to all the different possibilities. What do you think, what kind of need do you perceive out there, and what can you do about it? If you have the money, then throw it out there, you know?
Yeah, we see a lot of that of people who think they know what Kickstarter on one end, but crowdfunding in general, what it should be for. And I think when there are interesting projects like yours, that's sort of, you know, and from you're not in it to make money, which I think is just interesting. You're in it because you think it's a great idea. And I think crowdfunding is particularly well suited to make that type of project a reality. And so on that end, congratulations for doing that. And it's definitely a need. There's in LA at least. There's plenty of douchebag parkers out there taking up multiple spots or blocking you in. It's an epidemic right now.
You
So
know, I wonder, and I hope, and if this thing were to really take off, I think it would be great. And I wonder if people taking the time to leave a card on someone's car who parks like that, when somebody comes back to their car and they see that, they're going to think twice about it next time, I think. And maybe if everyone did that, it could actually make a little bit of a change in the world. Who knows?
So, John P., you're making a world of difference with your fun cards, which again can be found currently on Kickstarter for the next 21 days. The project is called Nice Parking Job Business Cards, and again, I'll put a link on this video shortly. And thank you for joining us, John. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
That's it for this week's Funded Friday. For more, check out our YouTube channel or check out our film currently on Chill, which is chill.com/Kickstarted. Thanks.